Final hour, 11 o'clock, 9 to noon, FM 100.3, KFAM. Covenant catch-up time. Yesterday, it was Robert Rodriguez, formerly assistant defensive line coach for the Minnesota Vikings, now the defensive line coach for the Arizona State Sun Devils. And today, it's one of our favorites. It's P.J. Fleck, coach of the Golden Gophers football team, weekly guest during the season, and he's with us now. PJ, Paul Allen, Happy New Year. How have you been, and what's going on with you, man?
Well, it's good to hear your voice, PA. Thanks for having us on the show. We've been really busy, to say the least, just what's going on with our country right now and being able to run our football program and making sure everybody's safe and things like that. So I hope everybody's taking the proper precautions out there and keeping themselves safe and then also keeping everybody else around them safe. So we've been kind of doing what everybody else has been doing.
PJ, when I was told a couple of days ago through Messrs. Rovnak and Nordquist that you would be on the radio show, the first thing I thought of, and I love having you on the radio show, and we talk about a million different weird things. First thing I thought of is your relationship with journalistic immortality, Sid Hartman, and the fact that Sid turned 100 recently, and I know that has to mean something to you, ma'am.
It means a lot. You know, he's just a special person, and he's a living legend in the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota. What he's seen in his 100 years is incredible. And when you start to get to know Sid and watch him work on a daily basis, you respect him for all the work he's done, but I still respect for all the work that he's doing now at 100 years old. And I told him the other day, you're not a day over 80. You know, I'm not sure what that means, but we had a great conversation on the phone for his birthday, and you know, all he wanted to do was ask when we could set up another interview to talk about football. That's Sid, and he's done so much for our city, so much for our state. He is an icon, and hopefully everybody got a chance to at least wish him or celebrate his 100th birthday from afar. It was too bad that we weren't able to have his birthday party like we normally have, and but he is a special figure here in the city of Minneapolis and the Twin City area.
You know, PJ, from my standpoint, 18-year play-by-play guy for a National Football League team, done this radio show 21 years, so on. It's the balance that he keeps between being a guy who's so plugged in, he can break every single story if he wants, and he does break some, but caring about the teams and caring about people on a level that is antithetical to the way a lot in that profession is handled. To be able to run that balance at that high level for that long, that is mastering your craft.
It truly is because, you know, I mean, a lot of times, you know, it's hard to get coaches to be able to have really good relationships with media and have coaches want to talk to someone, you know, and I think Sid has that balance of whether it's athletes, whether it's coaches or the people that he talks to on a daily basis. People can't wait to talk to Sid. I mean, I have photos of my family with Sid in my office. I've got pictures of Sid on my wall in my office. You know, that's rare, and he's been able to find that balance to be able to connect both, and that's very difficult to find these days. And that's definitely a feather in his cap of what he's been able to do to get so many people to not only have to talk to him because it's part of our jobs, but want to talk to him. Not only want to talk to him, build the relationship that we all have with him.
What do you do to bide your time right now, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, we're recruiting. You know, we're doing everything that everybody else is doing. You know, I'm telling my players and team the same things that the governor's telling everybody and the public which is to stay home. You know, go home. You know, and wash your hands. Avoid large groups. Practice good hygiene. You know, this is a real threat that I think we're going through, and one that our team, our staff, and the public need to take very seriously and listen to the experts and the authorities. And we're doing the same thing, you know, and so our staff is working from home to be determined when we'll be back in. I don't think that's the main thing to focus on right now. It's getting the work done while we're out of the office. We're doing everything we can to do June and July's work now while we have that time. We don't know if we're going to get spring ball back or not. And nor are we really worried about that right now. We're worried about the health and the safety of our football team, of our staff, of our university and the Twin City area, and then the state of Minnesota and everybody else involved in that. I mean, this is something that's, you know, unprecedented. This is very difficult to go through. It's very tough times for many Americans right now, whether that's health or whether that's financially. But this isn't about us. This isn't about you individually. This is about how you can take care of the world. how you can be able to abide by the things that we're being asked to do and change our lifestyle as Americans for your neighbor, for the person next to you, which is what teamwork's all about. And, our world is taking on this teamwork approach. And I think it's really powerful for our team to see that and not only do that, or not only see that, but also do that and know why they're doing it. And, but it's a scary time. But we're doing everything we possibly can to, one, stay up on the recruiting, two, do a lot of work involved in our film studies, get ready for a few things that we have in place if we're allowed to do them come today or tomorrow with our team through video chats, through Zoom, through FaceTime, to be able to continue to keep normalcy somehow, some way from the quarantines of their own home or where they're at. And I think that's one of the big challenges we all have.
The majority of what you just said, specifically the first part with the times right now, PJ, for me, it's 1A, 1B, 1C. But when you get to 1D, legitimately, like I'm doing the radio show in the studio now, and it's, there are tumbleweeds blowing through the station because nobody's here, and we all understand why. But, business from if only not only a business standpoint, but from a cathartic standpoint, does roll on. So now, like when you say recruiting, FaceTime, Zoom, the whole thing, are there rules for that? Like how does that work so that it's impactful?
Well, there's definitely rules. There's definitely rules. And here's the thing: we haven't necessarily been told what we can and cannot do moving forward. The Big Ten, our compliance offices are working together because you don't want, because of something like this, that someone has an advantage over somebody else and they're using the disease as an advantage. That's ridiculous. So there's certain things that we want to make sure that we follow protocol of still finding creative ways to have maybe a position meeting a few times a week. But there's also the Kara hours. So you're technically using your Kara hours now for spring practice that you're allowed. But if spring practice comes back, right, and you have that, let's say in June, then you've already used your hours and you're not going to be able to use it in June. Wow. There's all these circumstances that don't have an answer yet, that there's so many questions to be answered. It's very difficult to say we can do this. So we're taking a one-day approach type mentality. We're giving our players the ability to work out, obviously not at our facility because that's locked down, but at home. There's indoor workouts from your own home that our strength coach, Dan Nichols, providing. As simple as push-ups and sit-ups and planks and yoga and all these things he's sending for them to be able to do it within their home. And if they are able to go to a certain place to be able to do those things and have those workout facilities that are safe and haven't been shut down, then they can do that if they choose to do that. But we're urging everybody to stay in their homes. The challenge we have are a few things, is that we have some international kids who are not U.S. residents, that they're afraid they won't come back if they go, right? That's always, or when they could come back if they do go home. Yeah. And then two, some of the homes that we actually have, not just the virus or the disease, we're talking more of the University of Minnesota, our area is safer for them to live and a better environment for them to live than where they are from back home, because they did get out of a very hostile environment or got out of a certain situation that wasn't safe for them. So there's all these challenges when you have over 100 players that you're working on, and not only that, staff members you want to keep safe. And I'm just so glad that, our governor is taking care of our entire state and making a lot of these mandates, as well as President Joan Gable, as she looks out for all of our students, not just our student athletes at the University of Minnesota. With your team and players who played for your team last year, and the fact that you were, you coached in the National Football League for a little bit with Tampa and came into it with the Niners. So you get both. I've always appreciated that about you. Your pro day being canceled, and we understand why it was canceled, but like Antoine Winfield Jr., without a pro day, but he had a combine, like how do you sense he will segue to the National Football League with everything about him and the next level? Well, the one thing is, for everyone, whoever was at the NFL Combine, I think is going to have a major advantage, right? Because people have been able to see him, verify it, go through the testing, and everybody could get that after the Combine at the pro days. Well, all the pro days that are being canceled or at least pushed back, it forces the NFL to be able to really take a lot more value in the Combine, because you'd rather have the bird in the hand than one in the bush in terms of what about somebody that you could have found out at pro day, but you didn't have that. which is a little bit for a disadvantage for some of the guys who haven't had pro days. But the one thing I've learned as being as an NFL coach is the film doesn't lie. You've come out, you watch these guys in the spring, you've come out to watch them in practices, you've watched their film. That doesn't lie. And production is production. A guy like Antoine Winfield Jr., who has enormous amount of production here at the University of Minnesota, and also produced very well at the Combine, as well as all of our guys at the Combine. The reports back to me where they all were exceptional and all did tremendous jobs, not only just on the field because some of them didn't participate, but in terms of the interview process. But a guy like Antoine Winfield, I think, his value is going to continue to skyrocket because, one, his production is really high. Two, he was at the Combine. And I think everybody knows his productivity of his father as well, and that gene and that bloodline that's passed down to him. And I think his stock has skyrocketed here within the last few months, and rightfully so. What
about Tyler Johnson at the next level? Like what do you, besides the gifts from God, the speed and the size? Like how do you think he'll fit into the next level and do really well?
Well, I think with Tyler, I think one thing that made him really special here was he was able to play every position. And our passing game is built on an NFL passing game. So he was able to play the Z, the X, the F, the Y. You could move him around. He could run every route in the NFL route tree. And I think that's really important for him to be able to not only make one-handed catches and be the athlete that he is, but the versatility he's going to be able to give a team. Now, is he going to come out and run a 4.25? Probably not. But he plays football really fast. And he plays the game fast, and he's a very smart football player, and he's able to adapt to every position, and that tells me he can play in any system and know every position in that system.
So last one, like when staying at home is very important, so when you're within your covenant and you're watching film, is it like high school film, film from your team last year, trying to come up with new stuff? What, from a film watching standpoint, PJ, what do you do to bide your time?
Well, we have an itinerary and we have a daily schedule for our entire staff. One, it gives us a unique time that and coaching you really don't have, which I never want to take away from them. So we have a balance between the family and the football. That is being home with your family. And a lot of times as coaches, we don't get that enough time. We don't get that time enough. And this is an opportunity I want our staff to be able to take advantage of. Be around your family. But we do have a daily calendar and a daily schedule of what we're doing. And whether that's film from studying our opponents from last year, getting ready for the first 3 games of our season, plus our rivals. We do that in the June period, so we're going to do that now. There's a lot of recruiting film that we're watching in certain periods of the day, and we can have staff meetings where we can have teleconferences, which we've been able to do. We've been able to do teleconferences with the offensive staff, defensive staff, special teams, which I think is critical in the communication role. And then we've also been able to put together, from our point of view, our spring practices and continue to move that forward of what we need to get better at, evaluate our own players. So you've got the season coming up that you're really studying your opponents already. You got the recruiting film. You got our own film that we're recruiting. And then we also have our studies, studies that we've done in the off season, whether we're studying NFL teams or we're studying NFL schemes or somebody in college football that we're studying. We're doing that now as well. So our coaches are plenty busy. They're busy with their families. They get great quality time with them, which we need and we want. But they also are working really hard because in times of adversity, I think really successful teams and really elite teams find a way to grow during these times.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
And I think we can do that.
I very much appreciate the catch-up. Thank you very much, PJ. Let's do it more frequently. Bless you and your family. Thank you very much for the encouraging words and the motivating words. And we'll chat soon, okay?
Yep, everybody stay safe. Row the boat. Scotty Ma, go Gophers. Thank you.
Got you, bud. PJ Fleck, coach of the Golden Gophers. Our Talker Tuesday, Covenant Catchup, trying to do one of these each day through a different form of the Abyss. The Abyss is not like, ooh, wow, 9 segments, ain't nothing out there. No, it's bountiful. It's rich. It's meaty. But the abyss of life. And from a distraction factor standpoint, whether it was Covenant catching up with Robert Rodriguez, very loquacious, very important to me. Yesterday, PJ Fleck today, and some the rest of the week. I think it's cathartic for yours truly, and 9 to noon, and hopefully you're enjoying them.